Hello, today is just 3 shorter reviews, each of about 5 minutes in length, just from Stas's knife box we got sent around. Today's being the Bestech Tercel. The reason these are shorter reviews is because frankly I didn't connect with these knives particularly, but I figured if someone wants to search Cedric and Ada and then they're looking to buy a Bestech Tercel, at least there'll be an entry and they can sort of hear what I thought about the knife. So let's get to it, and I'll take it down to tabletop and just keep it quite simple. So of the 3 knives, I probably enjoyed the Bestech Tercel the least. It's got a couple of things that I just don't adhere with. And the main thing you're probably going to know when I talk about handles, you probably see it straight away. The handle is just far too busy. I think there's an idea that this sort of stuff is ergonomic, but it's really not unless you have the hands that fits it perfectly, and most hands aren't going to fit this perfectly. Yours might, and that's great if it does, but mine definitely doesn't. There are lumps where I don't wish there to be lumps, and there is a particular hot spot where the lock rolls into the blade tang there, where it actually makes a bit of there's a couple of right angles there which just really aren't comfortable for me when I'm bearing down and doing repetitive cuts with it. So I haven't been able to find much comfort in the handle of this one at all. However, unlike the Gow Bradley, which had a sort of an average handle for me and a great blade, this also doesn't have a particularly good blade on it. So this blade, it's S35VN, which I have no problem with. It's got a nice shape, which I also have no problem with, but it is incredibly thickly ground. It's got a sharp edge on it right now, but this is it's an edge that will slice paper, but you try and push it through rope and it just doesn't want to go through. It's just too fat. This was probably, I don't know if this was an earlier Bestech and I don't know if they've got better or if this is just what they were going for. They just wanted a super chunky style knife. But this just seems like, I dare say they've looked at what people seem to like and they've focused on the flashy stuff. Because that being said, it's got great action. Action's bloody remarkable. It's really, really good drop shot guillotine style action. And it's got, nice looking handle materials, titanium with, different fluting patterns here and, layered chamfering and a cool backspacer. It's a very cool looking knife for sure. Like it looks like, the standard sort of really flash titanium flame lock flippers that started coming out in like 2013. Absolutely, but it just doesn't, it doesn't perform as a knife particularly well, in my opinion. I just think there was a lot of stuff they could have done a bit better. It's just such thick stock here. And then just being a flat grind, you can have thick stock, but I'd always suggest either hollow grinding it or starting the grind right at the top and trying to get as thin as you can. They've not really done that. It feels like the zero tolerances that are really thick behind the edge when you get them as well, and you have to sort of thin out just a little bit, but somehow even more so. So really hasn't made an impression with me from either handle nor blade. Overall construction is great. It's almost like more of a knife-like object really to me, which is probably a bit dramatic because it still will cut in a pinch. Obviously it'll cut a piece of paper or a box open or anything like that, but if you're paying a lot of money, well, I shouldn't keep saying you because this is me. If I pay a lot of money for a knife, and this is about a $200 US knife, I want $200 worth of performance rather than $200 worth of kind of flashy action and fancy looks and things like that. I sort of want like a nice a really nicely done blade in a good steel. S35VN is a good steel, of course, but I want that steel to be ground right, so it performs right. That's just how I see value in knives. If you're after something that you're just going to open and close on the couch, then this is probably one of the best knives you can get because it fires like it's an automatic or something. It's just its action is just excellent. But apart from that, it's more of a sculpture to me than something I'd ever choose to use and carry myself. On top of that, I'm not a massive fan of the custom pivot sort of hardware there. Don't love that. Although the rest is Torx, the pivot's probably the thing you're going to adjust the most. It may well have come with one, but it didn't ship to me in the knife box with the pivot tool. So, which is one of those things, you can lose pivot tools. Good example of that. You could fit something in there, of course you could, but you could also fit in there a Torx, and they've chosen to go fancy. Again, it's just sort of probably all the things I don't love about knives at the moment are represented in this knife. And I'm thinking lately that the trend in the industry is going back towards performance. You're seeing things like the TRM Atom getting made that's really optimized for performance and slicing and stuff like that. And even Spyderco making things like K390 police fours and stuff. I think it's going towards materials used correctly again, but yeah, this was perhaps just a few years older than that, and just a little bit behind what I like in knives. So that's the Bestech Tercel. I'll just show you it next to the Delica, just so you get the size of it. It is a larger knife, kind of like a paramilitary 2 size knife, which I really should have brought out for these comparisons. Benchmade 940, and yeah boy, the Buck 110. Alright, so that's the Tercel. There we have it.